It was early in the morning and the streets were still quiet, with only a few cars passing by. The bus stop stood on the corner of a small neighborhood road, surrounded by trees and the soft sound of birds. The air was cool, and a slight breeze moved the leaves gently. The sunlight had started to break through the clouds, giving the morning a warm glow. At this quiet bus stop, a young girl waited for her bus, sitting in her wheelchair. She had learned to navigate the world carefully, always aware that people could be unpredictable. Her wheelchair had small, worn-out wheels from years of use, but it was her independence and she was proud of it. The girl held a small backpack on her lap, containing books and a notebook. She was reading quietly, trying to enjoy the peaceful morning. Her eyes were focused on the pages, but her ears picked up the distant sounds of the street. She had developed a habit of paying attention to everything around her, a skill that had become necessary over the years. As she read, she hummed softly to herself, lost in the world of her book. Not far away, a man was walking down the street heading toward the bus stop. He was tall and broad, and he seemed to enjoy noticing people around him. His eyes landed on the girl in the wheelchair, and for reasons she could not understand, he felt a strange excitement at seeing someone vulnerable. He slowed his pace and started approaching her, smiling in a way that made her uncomfortable. She looked up from her book, sensing something wrong but tried to ignore it, hoping he would pass by without paying much attention. The man stopped in front of her and made a comment about her disability. It was loud enough for anyone nearby to hear, and it made her flinch. She tried to respond calmly, saying that his words were not nice, but he laughed at her. His voice was harsh and it made the girl feel small and exposed. Her heart started beating faster and her hands tightened around her backpack. She had faced people like this before, but it never got easier. Other people on the street were starting to notice. A few workers were walking toward their jobs and a couple of early morning joggers slowed down, unsure if they should intervene. The girl could see the hesitation on their faces and it made her feel more alone. She realized that she had to handle this herself, at least for now. She took a deep breath and tried to speak firmly, telling the man that he should leave her alone. But the man ignored her words and continued to tease, moving closer to her wheelchair. The girl's mind raced. She thought about what she could do if he became more aggressive. She had learned some self-defense techniques for emergencies, but she knew that they might not be enough against someone bigger and stronger. Fear and frustration mixed in her chest, making it hard to think clearly. She tried to keep calm, reminding herself that the bus would arrive soon and she would be able to leave this place. But the man seemed determined to make the moment last longer. He started making fun of her again, mocking the way she moved in her wheelchair. His words were cruel, aimed at breaking her confidence. The girl felt tears prick her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She clenched her jaw and stared straight ahead, trying to show that she would not be defeated. It was difficult, and every second felt longer than the last. The street felt unusually empty, even though people were around, and she wished someone would step in to help. A few people passing by slowed down to watch, but no one stopped. Some whispered to each other, while others pretended not to notice. The girl felt the weight of their silence, wishing that someone would have the courage to act. Her thoughts shifted to her family and friends, thinking about how worried they would be if they knew she was being harassed. The fear was real, but so was her determination. She wanted to show the man that he could not break her spirit. The man's laughter grew louder, drawing more attention. He leaned toward her, trying to intimidate her physically. The girl shifted in her wheelchair, keeping herself stable and trying to create some distance. She reminded herself that she had the right to exist without fear, even if he tried to make her feel otherwise. Her hands gripped the wheels of her chair, ready to move if necessary. She also tried to make eye contact, hoping to make him see that she was not someone to be mocked easily. Time seemed to stretch endlessly. The bus had not arrived yet, and the man continued his verbal assault. The girl could feel her energy draining as she struggled to maintain her composure. She looked around again, hoping for a sign that someone would help, but the hesitation of the onlookers continued. It was a test of patience and courage, and she had no choice but to endure it for the moment. As she waited, she remembered moments from her past when she had faced similar challenges. Each encounter had taught her something: how to stay calm, how to stand her ground, and how to believe in her own strength. She thought about the times when someone unexpectedly stepped in to protect her, and that thought gave her a small glimmer of hope. She knew that help might come at any moment, even if it seemed impossible right now. The man, Noticing her determination, grew frustrated. His smile faltered, replaced by a frown. He had expected an easy target, someone who would cower and apologize, but she remained firm. That angered him, and he started pacing back and forth, trying to intimidate her further. The girl, however, stayed steady, her body tense but resolute. She reminded herself that fear could be a tool, but it could not control her. The air at the bus stop was filled with tension, the quiet morning now overshadowed by the man's aggression. The girl focused on her breathing, counting slowly to keep herself calm. She thought about the strength she carried inside, the resilience that had helped her face difficulties before. Her eyes scanned the street again, silently wishing that someone brave would arrive soon to change the course of this encounter. Minutes felt like hours, and the girl's mind remained alert. Every sound of footsteps made her heart jump, thinking it could be the bus or someone coming to help. She felt a mix of fear and anticipation, knowing that the situation could shift at any moment. The bus stop, once a quiet place, had turned into a stage for this struggle, with the girl at its center, facing someone who wanted to harm her confidence and peace. Then, just as her hope began to waver, she noticed two figures approaching from the distance. They were on motorcycles, moving with calm confidence. She did not yet know who they were, but their presence felt different. There was no chaos in their movement, no unnecessary aggression, only a strong sense of purpose. She felt a small surge of relief, sensing that these strangers might bring the change she had been waiting for. Her hands relaxed slightly on her wheelchair as the two bikers drew closer, ready to see what would happen next. The two bikers were getting closer, their motorcycles slowing as they neared the bus stop. Their engines made a low, steady rumble, and the girl in the wheelchair looked up, hoping that they might help. The man who had been bullying her noticed them too and turned his attention away from her for a moment, sizing up these new arrivals. He seemed irritated that someone might interfere with the scene he had created. The first biker, a tall man with a calm but firm expression, stopped a few feet from the girl. He leaned slightly on his bike, his eyes carefully observing the situation. The second biker, slightly shorter but equally strong-looking, parked behind him. Their presence changed the atmosphere at the bus stop immediately. The man who had been mocking the girl could feel the weight of their attention. He had expected to intimidate her easily, but now he realized he might be the one feeling vulnerable. The girl took a deep breath. Seeing these two strangers arrive gave her hope, but also a mix of nervousness. She had learned over time that help did not always mean safety. Sometimes it could bring new challenges. She remained alert, holding her backpack tightly on her lap and keeping her hands on the wheels of her chair. She knew she could not relax completely until the situation was resolved. The first biker spoke, his voice calm but commanding. "Hey sir, what do you think you're doing?" he asked. There was no anger in his voice, only a firm authority that demanded attention. The man who had been bullying the girl laughed, trying to brush it off. "Mind your business," he said, though his tone lacked the confidence he had moments before. The girl noticed that even the way the man spoke now seemed uncertain. The bikers had made him pause, and she felt a small relief that she might finally have someone to stand with her. The second biker stepped closer to the girl, making sure she was safe between them. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. The girl nodded, trying to speak, but her voice trembled slightly. She said, "I'm fine, but he's been bothering me." The biker nodded, giving her a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, we've got you." The girl's chest felt lighter. It was the first time in the last few minutes that she truly felt protected. The man who had been bullying her shifted uncomfortably. He started pacing a little, clearly unsure how to react. He had counted on fear and silence from everyone around, but the bikers were different. Their calm confidence was not threatening to the girl. Instead, it highlighted his own aggression and made it seem even more inappropriate. His voice grew louder as he tried to assert control again. "This is none of your business," he shouted, pointing at the bikers. The first biker raised a hand calmly, signaling that words alone could settle things. "It becomes our business when someone is hurting another person. You need to leave her alone." His voice was steady, without raising anger or showing threat, yet it carried authority that the man could not ignore. The girl watched closely, noticing how the bikers did not rush or act violently but used presence and confidence to take control. It was a lesson in courage for her, seeing strangers step in with respect and decisiveness. The man laughed nervously and stepped closer to the girl again, trying to regain his dominance. He reached toward her wheelchair and the girl's heart raced. She braced herself, gripping the wheels tightly. The second biker stepped forward, positioning himself between her and the man. His movement was careful but firm, showing that he would not let anyone come too close. "Step back," he said clearly, and the man paused. The girl could feel her tension easing slightly, knowing she was not alone. Around them, some people had started to watch more closely. The workers walking to their jobs had slowed, and a few joggers paused, sensing the seriousness of the situation. The girl could see their eyes shifting between the man and the bikers, realizing that someone was finally taking a stand. She wished they could understand how small gestures of courage could change the entire environment. For the first time in the encounter, she felt that the world was on her side. The man tried again to intimidate her verbally. "Why don't you just go away?" he sneered, glancing at the bikers with a mixture of anger and fear. The first biker did not react with violence. Instead, he used his words to assert control. "She has every right to be here. You have no right to bother her. Leave now or things will get more serious for you." His voice was calm, but there was no mistaking the warning beneath it. The man's expression changed. He had not expected words to carry such weight, especially from strangers who clearly meant business. The girl felt a surge of courage. Seeing someone else defend her allowed her to stand taller in her wheelchair. She spoke up, her voice trembling but stronger than before. "Please stop. I just want to wait for my bus." The man glanced at her and then back at the bikers, realizing that she was not going to be intimidated anymore. The combination of her firmness and the bikers' presence created a barrier he could not cross easily. The second biker glanced around, ensuring there were no other threats nearby. He kept a protective stance, showing that he would act only if necessary, but his readiness was enough to make the man reconsider. Time seemed to slow as everyone watched the unfolding confrontation. The bus stop, once quiet and ordinary, had become a place of tension, courage, and moral choice. Minutes passed as the man weighed his options. His earlier confidence had dissipated. The girl, meanwhile, felt her fear gradually giving way to relief. The bikers did not pressure her to move or react. They simply created a safe space for her, demonstrating a lesson in strength through calm presence. She realized that sometimes bravery came from standing firm and trusting others who genuinely cared. Finally, the man took a step back, his aggression fading. He muttered under his breath, looking around to see that no one was supporting him and that he could no longer intimidate the girl. The bikers stayed close, not moving until he had clearly decided to leave. Slowly he turned and walked away, his earlier arrogance replaced by frustration and defeat. The girl exhaled deeply, relief washing over her in waves. She felt her body relax for the first time in what felt like hours. The first biker crouched slightly to meet her eye level. "Are you okay?" he asked. The girl nodded, her hands shaking just a little. "Yes, thank you," she said, her voice sincere. She had felt helpless moments ago, but now she felt seen and protected. The second biker smiled and added, "It's not your fault. People like him shouldn't be allowed to scare anyone." Their words carried kindness and reassurance, something the girl would remember long after this morning. The bus appeared in the distance and the girl signaled to it. The bikers helped her move safely toward the curb, making sure she could get on without trouble. As she rolled onto the bus, she looked back at them, feeling gratitude and admiration. They had shown her that courage and calm presence could change the course of events, and that even in moments of fear, help could arrive in unexpected ways. Once she was safely on the bus, she waved at the bikers. They nodded in return, their presence fading as they prepared to leave. The girl's heart was still racing, but she felt empowered. She had faced fear, received help from strangers who acted with kindness and courage, and learned that standing together could overcome cruelty. The bus carried her forward, and with it a renewed sense of strength and hope. The quiet morning that had started with tension had ended with an important lesson in resilience, empathy, and the power of human kindness. The morning air was still cool, and the quiet hum of the street gave a peaceful feeling to the neighborhood. After the man had finally stepped back, the girl remained in her wheelchair, catching her breath and trying to calm the rapid beating of her heart. The two bikers stood nearby, their motorcycles parked in a way that gave the girl a sense of protection. They had not left her side, showing that they were ready to act if anything else happened. Their calm presence made the street feel different. It was no longer a place of fear, but a place where someone was standing up for what was right. The first biker, tall and broad, leaned slightly on his motorcycle and studied the man who had just left. His eyes were sharp, showing that he wanted to make sure the threat was truly gone. The second biker, slightly shorter but strong, stayed close to the girl, checking that she felt safe. The girl looked up at them with gratitude, her chest still tight from fear but slowly relaxing. She realized how important it was to have someone who would not back down in moments like these. The man, walking a few steps away, seemed unsure of what to do next. He stopped occasionally, glancing back at the girl and the bikers. His face showed a mix of frustration and embarrassment. He had thought he could intimidate her easily, but now he understood that courage could come from unexpected places. The bikers had confronted him with confidence, and the girl's calm determination had also shown him that she was not someone to be trifled with. Around them, the neighborhood slowly began to wake up. People passing by noticed the tension that had just unfolded. Some whispered to each other, while others stopped to watch quietly, sensing the seriousness of the situation. The girl felt their eyes, not with fear, but with a sense of being seen and supported. Even small gestures, like a nod or a glance of understanding, made her feel less alone in a world that sometimes seemed indifferent. The first biker spoke again, his voice firm but calm. "You have every right to be here. Nobody should make you feel unsafe." The girl nodded, her voice steady now. "Thank you. I was really scared." She realized that admitting fear was not a weakness, but a part of being human. The biker smiled, showing understanding. "It's okay to be scared. What matters is that you face it, and that you have support." The second biker gently adjusted the girl's wheelchair, making sure she was comfortable. He spoke in a kind tone. "We are not going anywhere until you feel safe. You don't have to face people like that alone." The girl felt warmth and reassurance in his words. She had faced challenges before, but this kind of support, calm and steady, was something she would always remember. She looked around and noticed that other people on the street seemed to feel a subtle change as well. Courage and kindness had a way of spreading. The man, still nearby, tried to regain his composure. He muttered something under his breath and looked around to see if anyone was watching him closely. He seemed to realize that his actions had consequences, and that the bikers were not ordinary people who could be intimidated. Their calm authority made him appear small in comparison. The girl noticed this change in his demeanor and felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that standing up for herself, combined with the bikers' help, had made a difference. The bikers did not confront him aggressively. They did not yell or act violently. Instead, they used their presence and words to establish boundaries. The girl watched closely, learning a lesson in strength and composure. She realized that courage was not about being loud or forceful, but about standing firm and protecting what was right. This understanding gave her a sense of empowerment she had not felt before. As the bus approached in the distance, the girl's mind remained alert. She knew the situation was not entirely over until she was safely on it. The first biker spoke to the girl, giving her instructions gently. "We will help you onto the bus. Stay calm and follow my lead." The girl nodded, gripping the wheels of her chair with steady hands. She trusted these strangers who had shown her protection and kindness. The second biker moved behind her, ready to guide the wheelchair smoothly onto the curb and then onto the bus. The man watched from a distance, now hesitant to approach. He had no confidence left to continue his bullying. The biker's calm assertiveness had created a barrier he could not cross. The girl felt a sense of relief, knowing that she was no longer alone in defending herself. She had learned an important lesson. Courage could come from the most unexpected places, and support could arrive when it was most needed. The first biker motioned to the second biker, and they carefully guided the wheelchair toward the curb. The girl felt the steady hands helping her move safely. She looked up at the bikers, silently thanking them for their protection. The street, which had felt tense and unsafe moments ago, now felt secure and calm. The presence of kindness and courage had changed the atmosphere entirely. Around them, neighbors started to notice more clearly. Some came closer to see if help was needed, inspired by the bikers' actions. The girl felt a sense of community forming, even if subtly. People were realizing that standing up for others was important, and that fear could be overcome with courage and care. It was a quiet but powerful change in the small neighborhood street. The first biker turned to the girl and said, "We need to make sure you are completely safe before you leave." The girl nodded, appreciating their dedication. She realized that sometimes courage was about taking the time to protect others fully, not rushing or acting impulsively. The biker's patience and calm approach made her feel respected and valued. The second biker positioned himself in front of the bus, guiding the girl smoothly onto the curb. He made sure the wheels of her chair were secure and that she would not tip over. His careful movements showed experience and consideration. The girl felt safe knowing that these strangers genuinely cared about her well-being. Her heart, which had raced from fear earlier, now felt steadier and calmer. As the bus came closer, the first biker stood back slightly, observing the process. He wanted to ensure that everything went smoothly. The girl felt a deep sense of gratitude. In her life, she had faced moments of fear and helplessness, but this morning had shown her that support and bravery could appear even in unexpected ways. The bikers had not only protected her physically but had given her emotional strength as well. The man who had bullied her finally turned and walked away, leaving the area quietly. His presence no longer mattered. The girl realized that standing up for herself and having allies could change the course of events. The bikers had modeled a powerful lesson, that courage and kindness could coexist, and that protecting someone was not about aggression but about calm, firm presence. Once the girl was safely on the curb and ready to board the bus, the second biker gave her a reassuring nod. "You're okay now. We've got you," he said. The girl smiled, feeling a mixture of relief and empowerment. She understood that moments like this could teach lasting lessons about resilience, human kindness, and courage. The first biker stepped back to allow the girl to roll onto the bus smoothly. He remained patient until the driver acknowledged her presence and made sure she could get on safely. The girl's hands gripped the wheels one last time, feeling steady and confident. She looked back at the bikers who had shown her that strangers could act with courage and care, creating safety in the face of fear. As she rolled onto the bus and found her seat, she reflected on the events of the morning. The quiet street, the tension, and the fear had transformed into a lesson of bravery, support, and human kindness. The bikers, who had arrived seemingly out of nowhere, had changed her world in a few minutes, reminding her that courage could be quiet, but powerful. She felt grateful, inspired, and ready to face the rest of the day with a renewed sense of strength. The morning sunlight was growing stronger, and the streets were becoming busier as more people started their day. At the bus stop, the tension had not completely gone away. The man who had bullied the girl earlier had not left far enough to feel safe in his own mind. He lingered nearby, glancing back at her and the two bikers who remained calm and alert. The girl, still in her wheelchair, kept her focus forward, trying to control her racing heart and feeling the continued presence of protection from the bikers. The first biker, standing tall beside his motorcycle, observed the man closely. He did not act aggressively, but there was an unmistakable firmness in his posture that communicated authority. The second biker stayed close to the girl, providing comfort and support, making sure she could breathe and remain steady. Both bikers had created a barrier that made the man think twice about approaching. The girl realized that the tension was far from over. Sometimes courage was about patience and careful action, not sudden force. The man, frustrated and angry, shouted insults again, trying to regain control. His voice was loud, but it lacked the confidence he had shown earlier. "You think you can stop me?" he sneered, pointing first at the girl and then at the bikers. The girl, gripping the wheels of her chair, felt a surge of fear, but the biker's steady presence gave her courage. She realized that fear was normal, but she did not have to let it control her. The first biker stepped closer, his voice calm but unwavering. "This ends now. You have no right to intimidate her. Leave." The man laughed nervously, but his voice faltered. He was trying to show courage, but the calm authority of the biker made it clear that he was outmatched. The second biker shifted slightly, positioning himself to protect the girl while keeping the confrontation under control. He did not act violently, but his readiness to intervene was enough to make the man hesitate. Around the bus stop, bystanders began to notice the standoff. Workers walking to their jobs and joggers who had paused earlier were now watching closely. The girl noticed that some people were holding their breath, sensing the potential danger. She felt both nervous and supported. Seeing strangers willing to act even quietly gave her a sense of belonging. It was as if the courage of a few could inspire the awareness of many. The man took a step forward, attempting to assert his dominance physically. The first biker moved slightly in front of him, not aggressively but enough to block the man's path. "Back off," he said firmly. The man hesitated, realizing that he could not intimidate these two strangers. The girl felt a mixture of relief and awe. She had learned that courage was not about fighting blindly but standing with purpose and control. The second biker spoke directly to the girl. "You are safe with us. Stay calm and trust us." The girl nodded, feeling a sense of reassurance wash over her. She realized that she was not alone and that help could come in the form of calm and careful presence, not just loud actions. Her focus shifted from fear to observation, noticing how the bikers managed the situation with patience and strength. The man, frustrated by his lack of control, tried to escalate the situation verbally again. "You can't tell me what to do," he shouted, his voice cracking slightly. The first biker maintained his composure. "It's not about telling you what to do. It's about protecting someone who cannot defend herself against bullying. Leave now, or you will regret it." There was no threat of violence in his tone, but the words carried authority that made the man step back. The girl felt a new sense of power within herself. She realized that bravery could be quiet and composed. She said firmly, "Please leave me alone. I am not afraid." Her voice was steady, not trembling. The man glanced at her, surprised by her courage and the unwavering support of the bikers. He began to understand that intimidation would not work here. The first biker stepped slightly closer to the man, maintaining eye contact. His presence alone was enough to show that he would not allow any harm. The second biker continued to protect the girl, ready to act if necessary, but also showing restraint. Their actions were controlled and deliberate, teaching the girl an important lesson. Strength could be shown through calmness, strategy, and care, not only through physical force. The man, realizing that he was outmatched, muttered under his breath. He looked around to see that people on the street were watching him, silently judging his behavior. For the first time, he felt the weight of his actions. The girl, sitting in her wheelchair, observed him and felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. Standing firm and having allies had shifted the power balance. Fear no longer dominated the moment. Time seemed to stretch as the man lingered. The bikers maintained their calm posture, showing no rush, no aggression, only readiness and focus. The girl felt her heart rate slow slightly, her confidence growing. She realized that sometimes the most effective protection came not from anger or violence, but from steady presence and support. The man finally began to retreat, taking small steps away from the girl and the bikers, his earlier aggression fading. Bystanders started to respond more openly. Some nodded in approval, while others whispered words of encouragement to the girl. She felt a growing sense of community, understanding that witnessing courage could inspire others to act. The street, which had felt tense and threatening moments ago, now seemed infused with a sense of human strength and empathy. She realized that moments of bravery could have a ripple effect beyond the immediate situation. The bikers stayed close, ensuring the man could not return immediately. The first biker spoke gently to the girl. "You did great. You stayed calm and stood up for yourself." The girl smiled, feeling pride and relief. She understood that courage was not about ignoring fear but managing it, and that having support could make a difference. The second biker added, "We will stay with you until you are completely safe." Their dedication reinforced her feeling of protection and reassurance. The bus approached again, signaling that the girl would soon leave the street. The first biker stepped back slightly, guiding her attention toward the approaching vehicle. The second biker positioned himself to help her maneuver onto the curb safely. She felt a wave of gratitude, realizing that the presence of these strangers had completely changed the morning for her. The man who had bullied her was now gone, and she had been supported without any need for conflict or aggression. As the girl rolled toward the curb, the bikers flanked her sides, ensuring she could move safely. The first biker watched the man from a distance, making sure he would not return. The second biker guided the wheelchair carefully, demonstrating patience and skill. The girl felt empowered by their actions, understanding the importance of calm, thoughtful intervention in moments of danger. She realized that courage, both her own and theirs, had transformed a frightening situation into a safe and controlled one. The man, seeing the girl and bikers ready for the bus, finally left the area entirely. His confidence and aggression were gone, replaced by frustration and understanding that he could not intimidate her or anyone else willing to stand up against bullying. The girl felt relief and a renewed sense of strength. She had faced fear, received help, and witnessed how courage and calmness could protect and empower others. The first biker spoke softly as they guided her onto the curb. "You're safe now. Remember, standing firm and asking for help is always okay." The girl nodded, absorbing the lesson. The second biker smiled gently, positioning her safely to board the bus. Their careful attention and unwavering support had made a lasting impression. She realized that moments of courage and kindness, even from strangers, could leave a profound impact. As she prepared to board the bus, the girl reflected on the events that had unfolded. The fear and tension of the morning had been transformed by courage, calmness, and human kindness. The bikers had taught her that bravery was not just about confronting danger, but also about protecting, supporting, and standing firm. She felt empowered and ready to face whatever came next, knowing that even in moments of vulnerability, help and strength could arrive unexpectedly. The morning had shifted from tense and fearful to calm and hopeful. The girl sat in her wheelchair, catching her breath and feeling the warmth of sunlight on her face. The bikers stayed close by, ensuring she was completely safe before she continued her day. Their presence had not only protected her physically, but had also given her a profound sense of reassurance. She realized that courage was not just about facing danger, but also about having support and standing together with others. The bus was approaching, and the girl felt a mix of excitement and relief. She had been scared, tense, and vulnerable just moments ago, but now she felt empowered. She knew that help could come from unexpected places and that strangers could act with kindness and courage when it was needed most. The first biker spoke softly. "We will stay with you until you are safely on the bus." The girl nodded, feeling grateful and understood. She felt a sense of community in the smallest gestures of protection and care. The second biker positioned himself in front of the wheelchair, gently guiding her toward the curb. Every movement was careful and deliberate, ensuring that she would not tip or fall. The girl felt the steady hands supporting her and realized the power of calm presence. It was not about aggression or dominance, but about creating a space where she could feel secure. The experience had taught her that strength could be gentle yet firm, patient yet decisive. As she approached the curb, the bikers flanked her sides, providing a protective barrier and emotional support. She felt the bus stop under her wheels, ready to carry her safely forward. The first biker glanced at the street to ensure that the man who had bullied her had not returned. The man had finally left the area completely, defeated by the calm courage of the bikers and the girl's own determination. The girl felt relief wash over her, knowing she was truly safe. The bikers guided her smoothly onto the curb, helping her navigate the small height difference without causing any strain or fear. She felt a wave of gratitude, realizing how much effort and care they had put into protecting her. Their actions had made her feel valued and seen, reinforcing her belief that courage could be quiet and kind, yet profoundly effective. She understood that help could arrive in forms she had never expected, and that moments of vulnerability could be transformed into moments of empowerment. The girl signaled to the bus, and the driver slowed down to ensure she could board safely. The first biker gave a nod of reassurance. "You're okay now. Take your time." The girl smiled, feeling confident as she rolled toward the bus. The second biker helped guide her safely onto the vehicle, making sure her wheelchair was secure. She felt strong, even though she had been afraid moments earlier. The support of the bikers had changed the narrative entirely. Once she was safely on the bus, the girl turned to look back at the street and the bikers. They were standing together, calm and composed, watching to make sure no further danger approached. She felt a deep sense of gratitude, realizing that their courage had not only protected her but had also inspired her. The quiet morning had been transformed by their actions, teaching her that bravery, kindness, and careful presence could change the course of events in profound ways. The first biker raised a hand in a small wave, acknowledging her with a smile. The girl returned the gesture, feeling a sense of connection and appreciation. She understood that their presence had been a lesson in humanity, showing that even strangers could act with courage and empathy when needed most. She felt a new confidence in herself, knowing that she had faced fear, received help, and witnessed courage in action. The second biker remained near her as the bus driver secured her wheelchair in place. "You did great," he said, his voice calm and kind. "You stayed strong and didn't let fear control you." The girl felt a warmth spread through her chest. She realized that courage was not just about physical strength but also about emotional resilience, standing firm in the face of intimidation and accepting support when necessary. She nodded, feeling proud of herself and appreciative of the bikers who had acted with such care. As the bus prepared to leave, the girl took a moment to reflect on what had happened. The fear and tension of the morning had been transformed into a story of courage and human connection. The man who had tried to intimidate her was gone, and the bikers had taught her the importance of calm strength, patience, and support. She felt empowered, understanding that even in moments of vulnerability she could find safety and courage with the help of others. The bus began to move slowly, carrying her forward to her destination. She felt a sense of freedom and relief, knowing that she had navigated a frightening situation with support and bravery. The street, which had been filled with tension, was now calm and ordinary again. But the lessons of the morning remained vivid in her mind. She understood that courage could come from action, presence, and empathy, and that standing together with others could change outcomes in powerful ways. Looking out the window, she thought about how fear had been replaced by confidence and hope. She realized that moments of vulnerability did not have to define her experience, and that the presence of kind and brave individuals could transform her perception of danger. She felt a new sense of empowerment, knowing that she had learned a lesson that would stay with her for a long time. The girl's mind replayed the actions of the bikers, noticing how they had remained calm, patient, and firm throughout the situation. Their approach had been deliberate, non-aggressive, and highly effective. She understood that courage was not always loud or forceful. Sometimes it was about presence, reassurance, and careful intervention. Their actions had shown her that strength and kindness could coexist, and that standing up for others could create a safer and more supportive environment. The girl felt gratitude not only for their protection, but also for the example they had set. She realized that bravery could inspire others, even those who were just observing. People on the street had noticed the bikers' calm intervention and the girl's composure, creating a ripple effect of awareness and understanding. The quiet morning had become a small but significant lesson in courage, empathy, and community. As the bus continued on its route, the girl felt a sense of closure. The danger was gone, the man had retreated, and she had experienced the power of support and courage firsthand. She reflected on the importance of standing firm, asking for help when needed, and trusting those who acted with care and integrity. The experience had changed her, instilling a renewed sense of strength and confidence. The girl looked forward to the rest of her day with a new perspective. She knew that fear could be faced and that courage could be found in unexpected places. The biker's actions had not only protected her, but it also taught her the value of human kindness and the strength that comes from standing together. She felt ready to face whatever challenges might come next, knowing that courage, support, and empathy could always make a difference.